Hi there, everybody, and welcome to Web and Beyond Live. This is Web and Beyond Live for November 9th, 2020. And I'm Ray Sidney Smith. I am president of W3 Consulting and managing director of W3C Web Services. And we provide affordable WordPress and web hosting, as well as domain name registration services and other web related services for small business. And Web and Beyond Live is just a time for me to come each week to talk to you about digital marketing, productivity, and technology, and how it affects small business and how it helps you get the word out, and also do business better. And so today we have a fun show. Today I'm going to be talking a little bit about some updates regarding things. And what I really wanted to dive in today was a little bit of discussion on really holiday marketing planning. We are coming up into the holiday season, and it's a unique one considering the context in which we're in. And so this is going to be a fun show to kind of discuss those issues. So first and foremost, I wanted to just bring up a quick topic of note, which is that last month was National Cybersecurity Awareness Month, and just a few days ago, we learned about, and now is being reported, that the hotel booking firm, which was a you know a normal booking firm that does, I think it was called Prestige. They had their database leaked. They misconfigured their AWS bucket, their Amazon Web Services web installation where they have their database, and it leaked millions of guests' data. And so if you happen to be in the hospitality industry and you have any data that was being held by Prestige, you should go check out what and whether their data, your guests, your customers' data, was leaked in that breach, and go ahead and start figuring out what you need to do there. So the point of me even bringing that up is that data security doesn't have a month where we can all just hold hands and sing kumbaya and all of a sudden we're all okay. We need to be vigilant all the time, and I hope that the National Cybersecurity Awareness Month topics that we discussed help to bring you into that perspective. That being the case, I also wanted to just kind of note here a little bit of celebration. Today we found out that there is a COVID-19 vaccine that is in its phase 3 trials or whatever, and it's showing pretty high efficacy, which is pretty fantastic. So we'll hopefully see more of these vaccines come onto the market. And my point in bringing it up at all is that we should start thinking about what our marketing and operations look like on the other side of this. It's probably another 9 or so, maybe 10, 11 months of us in this phase where we are working through the COVID-19 recovery as a business. You need to kind of just prepare yourself for that. If it's less than that, fantastic. But the reality is that I think it's going to probably be protracted as at least that long with regard to just everybody getting a vaccine, the number of times I think you have to be vaccinated. All of those things are going to come into play, right? So I think the recovery is going to take quite a bit of time, and so you need to prepare for that. But this is the first kind of good news about the other side, seeing hope, light at the end of the tunnel here, in terms of a vaccine showing pretty strong results. Couple of notes, kind of little bits of news items that I wanted to share. One is that WhatsApp, I noted last week, is going to start charging for WhatsApp business pieces. And on the WhatsApp consumer side, though, note that WhatsApp is now rolling out messages that will disappear after a week. It's being reported that they're adding this functionality into the system. Presumably, if these messages are disappearing after 7 days, these are consumer-based messages, of course, but this is going to become an issue where if you are kind of getting around the WhatsApp business component by having a personal account and transacting business conversations there, start to think about how that will impact your communications with folks if the messages that are coming from your consumers are again, capable of disappearing after some period of time. They may be sending you information, maybe they'll send you their phone number, address, those kinds of things. And then, of course, for issues of data privacy and data security, they may then decide to expire that information. That then means you're going to lose data if you don't get it out of WhatsApp fast enough. So just keep that in mind as some of these technologies, I'm presuming that Facebook and Instagram messages that are now in the process of merging their capabilities, you're going to have this broadening and advancing perspective there of them also being ephemeral messages, kind of taking a play from Snapchat. Snap Inc. created Snapchat with this ephemeral, photo, video, and chat messaging concept, and it seems like WhatsApp is starting to test those waters. Okay, next up is some news out of the finance world, the fintech world. Stripe has now launched its first product that, in essence, gives online businesses the ability to show their eco-friendliness by paying credits to basically offset climate change. And so this whole program, it's called the Stripe Climate, and it gives businesses an easy option to, in essence, contribute to funds that are counteracting the climate change problem that we have in the world. And so it just has you donate funds directly in the service. You just kind of check a box, and then it automatically does that for programs that are doing that. It says it's going to use 100% of the contributed funds to accelerate the development of carbon removal technologies. And this is just great. This is a wonderful step for businesses to be able to do something where they can determine giving funds toward those that messaging, in essence, right? So it's about marketing here, which is if you're a business and you want to show that you are environmentally friendly, and you know that your business has a carbon footprint, every business does, how do you project that in some way? And showing that you're giving some small percentage to a program that's doing that makes it easy on the business to be able to do that right off the top, but as well being able to then properly message that. And you really do need to message that appropriately, making sure that people know that you are environmentally friendly and you're doing this for the cause, making sure that you launch a campaign around it to make sure that people are consistently aware, but you at least get that front end boost when you do this kind of program. So if you plan to do Stripe Climate, make sure that you're doing some initial campaign, but then on an ongoing basis, are you going to put a little note at the bottom of your website? Are you going to put a link in your email signatures? Things of that nature to be able to let people know that this is something that you're doing. Continuing along and down the Stripe news, Stripe has partnered with MindBody. Many people know MindBody Online, the health and wellness platform, basically, that allows people to register and book appointments in their online platform. Well, they have now partnered with Stripe to become their payment processor to give people greater ability to do virtual fitness subscription plans and all kinds of other features there. So you're going to see more and more businesses that are in the health and wellness and fitness space with MindBody Online come online and start using Stripe, and I think that's going to be really phenomenal for them. So just know that if you are an MBO platform user, you now are going to be able to use Stripe, and that gives you a lot more flexibility, since now you can have subscriptions and you can have different mechanisms for virtual classes, and the checkout experience is going to be easier. And of course, this is all to compete with Peloton and other platforms like SoulCycle and otherwise that also had to pivot during this COVID-19 pandemic to be able to be more nimble and virtual in experience. Moving along, I wanted to bring up a note about Microsoft. Last week we talked about Microsoft's new digital marketing center, and I am remiss to say that I actually hadn't had a chance to talk more about it, but specifically in Microsoft Bing Webmaster Tools. Microsoft Bing Webmaster Tools is akin to Google Search Console, and it's a free tool, and inside it they have now released a new feature that they once had before called Explorer, but now it's something else, and it's called Site Explorer. Site Explorer allows you to basically look at your website and start to look at particular functions of SEO better. As I said, it's a free tool, so once you set up Microsoft Bing Webmaster Tools, which I really recommend you do in confluence with Google Search Console, because then you're going to see both what Google sees and what Microsoft Bing sees, and then see them as a comparison to be able to see whether or not you're getting more traffic from one search engine or the other. And then be able to kind of compare those, because you might get a little bit of different data from one to the other in terms of keywords and so on and so forth. But the really cool part about the Site Explorer now is that you can filter all of your URLs, your site addresses, in a much more kind of File Explorer fashion. In Windows File Explorer, you're able to, see different things. You can filter and whatever. Inside Explorer, you're able to do that same thing. You can see what indexed URLs are in the system, and you can filter by those, which URLs are sending you traffic, which are redirecting, and which ones are actually blocked by virtue of your own site's metadata. One of those metadata pieces is your robots.txt file. But either way, it's just a really useful tool to be able to slice and dice the data so you can see this. And it's kind of in a folder perspective. So you're capable of just navigating to different folders and see what's available and what's not available. And just know that you have that available to you inside of Bing Site Explorer, or that is Bing Webmaster Tools, inside of Microsoft Bing Webmaster Tools. Okay, I wanted to take a moment to talk also about Wired put out an article that said, yes, you should be using Apple Pay or Google Pay, and it makes a really great argument for the security and efficiency of using Apple Pay and Google Pay. So that everybody's aware what those are. Apple Pay and Google Pay are the near-field communication technologies that are built into many smartphones today, not all of them, but many. And what it allows you to do is to pair a payment method to the phone, so that when you go to a store, you're able to then touchless pay. That is, you can go up to the payment, checkout and hold your phone over the device. It goes ahead and securely checks you out just by hovering your phone over the device. And of course, it's making the argument about the importance of the security is greater with Apple Pay and Google Pay than it is even with putting the chip into your card, the card into the displays. By virtue of the technology. I don't want to get too far into that, but the reality is that it's easy, it's touchless, so people aren't worried about transmitting germs and viruses and so on and so forth, of course, in our current context. But more importantly than that, I wanted to talk about it from the flip side of that, which is that the EMV chip card compliance is upon us. We're coming into 2021. And you're already, if you are taking retail payment, if there is fraud on your account based on a swipe, that is someone swiping their credit card, the magnetic strip swipe, if someone causes fraud on that, or even online where they punch in the credit card numbers and there's fraud there, EMV is still, is happening. The chip card compliance is happening. And so if there isn't a chip card associated with that, those magnetic swipes are, in essence, that fraud is being kind of pushed onto the business owner. So it's really imperative for you to start pushing toward getting those chip card devices put into place. But more importantly than that, I'm thinking to myself, well, if you're going to do that, why not get the Apple Pay or Google Pay, including, there's Samsung Pay. There's several other touchless formats that are out there. Samsung Pay actually is based on the magnetic striping, so I'm not particularly as bullish about that. But the reality is that by doing so, you're actually capable of increasing the marketing messaging here, which is that Apple Pay and Google Pay give a level of security and efficiency beyond that, but it's also safe. And with the addition of Apple Pay and Google Pay, you're actually increasing your mobile effectiveness in e-commerce. So if you can think about this from how much more money can you make from being able to put in effective mobile commerce as well as touchless payment, and allowing people to pay even when they've left, say they've left their wallet at home, they can still pay using their phone. This really increases business, and also the message that you're customer forward, you're customer friendly and technology forward, which of course many businesses have done already. For myself, I can pretty much pay at almost all the stores that I go to just from my phone. And that's a huge benefit to being able to both securely pay, which is the primary reason I care. But the other is that I don't have to pull out my wallet and worry about, magnetic striping and all of those kinds of things, or when the chip card goes in and it doesn't quite read it properly. All of those things are abated when you're using that touchless payment component, and that's a selling point to going to those businesses for me. And so if you're a small business and you're not embracing that technology, I just wanted to get up on my soapbox and say, please, 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 even if not for EMV chip card compliance, really think about how you're going to, broadcast the message that you're doing this for safety of the consumer, both from a security perspective, but also from not having to touch displays and so on and so forth. But then it's also an ease of use. It's a convenience issue that really makes it quite appealing to a lot of people. Quick note about Twitter. Twitter last month made a note. I'm sorry, 2 months ago, had made a note about their full-scale rollout of reply controls. So if you are using Twitter, I'm sorry, this is going back to August now, but I just hadn't noted it and I wanted to make sure everybody was aware. You should now have controls in Twitter for who can reply to particular tweets. This is really helpful for being able to say, I don't really want anyone to be replying to this tweet. It's just an announcement about something, and I don't want the other subsequent commentary about it. It's really nice to be able to say, okay, I only want people who follow this account to be able to respond, and or I don't want anyone to respond to this. I just want to put out this message so that folks know about it. And now you should see those functions in your mobile application as well as in your desktop Twitter web environment. And I think that's just really nice. Okay, I wanted to close out today with a little bit of discussion about the holiday shopping season and really the change that we're going to see in consumer spending and how we're really going to deal with that. So, right, starting from really Black Friday through the end of the Christmas shopping season, we typically see what we define as the holiday shopping season. That is very different this year, right? The COVID-19 pandemic had shoppers starting their Christmas shopping, their holiday shopping sprees as early as August. So people have already begun that process. And what I want to do is to kind of start talking about how you deal with this prolonged process and deal with that in the context of all of the various things we need to as it relates to keeping people buying. Um, uh, business2community.com, they had this really great article, and I wanted to cover some of the pieces here and comment on what I really think about in terms of their perspective on the matter. So I'm going to pull it up here so we can look at it together. In essence, they are talking about this from let me find it here. There we go. So what they said here is 1 in every 3 purchases, according to data of the holiday season, is an impulse buy. That's really good to know because after the pandemic, we can go back to normative shopping, but when we are doing much more e-commerce, I mean, most of the shopping that's going to be done for the holiday season is now going to be in the digital experience, and that's going to affect those businesses out there who have to date really resisted going online. So if you know any small businesses, please encourage them to figure out some level of e-commerce, even if it's something quick and easy. You can do really quick shopping e-commerce shops, even if it's just Facebook shops for the holiday season, really going to that effect so that we can deal with some of those things without too much bloodletting in the small business retail space. But in essence, consumers want to spend. They're going to really get themselves excited about the season, considering we're dealing with a lot of sheltering and quarantining and isolating and all these other things. There's a lot of negative stuff going on, and so people are really going to be embracing the holiday season in a different way this year. So one, we're going to have a lot more holiday purchases making up online. Some people say that we're going to increase 120% to about a third of all holiday shopping will happen on the e-commerce side. With a third of the shopping on e-commerce, that means you're going to have a heck of a lot more challenge. You're going to see a lot more competition for the dollars spent online. Things that I'm really considering is, as this article talks about, kind of the spread out shopping season. A lot of people have started shopping already, and they plan to shop before Black Friday, which means that now we should really be thinking about how to do those things. Google's small business has launched in in confluence with the Black Chambers Inc., and the Black Business Chamber of Commerce, the idea of using Black Friday as a holiday to spend money with Black-owned businesses. And I see more and more opportunities here for us to be able to utilize these holiday shopping days, both Black Friday. We have Small Business Saturday, Cyber Monday, as well as Giving Tuesday. And you can do this locally, you can do this nationally, but otherwise, thinking about how we're doing some of these e-commerce campaigns for these days that are dedicated to particular types of holidays. But can you preempt that? Amazon and Target and Walmart seem to do this every year, where they kind of try to get ahead of other shopping holidays. With Amazon Prime Day, you see Walmart and Target try to get on top of that with some deals as well. How can you utilize these things that are going to bring traffic naturally to e-commerce, and can you get some of those dollars based on that? And that's whether you're a product or service business. You can put out all kinds of programs that give people things. Now, in the retail side, it's typically discounts and offers and other kinds of programs. On the service side, I really always recommend that you think about how you can provide more value, not necessarily a discount on pricing. Service businesses are just so different in that way, right? So think about, can you provide a value add, giving more for the same price, so that people can see a value that they're getting for the money that they're putting into things. But here they talk about this in terms of consumer spending, so not in the B2B space, but in the B2C space. Obviously, lead capture is really important. If you're running ads, making sure that you're doing remarketing is going to be really important here. And of course, having really good calls to action from those abandoned carts. So just really be mindful of that. They talk about in this article also, and I'll share this obviously in the links, how shoppers are aware that we're going to have supply chain issues and that we're going to have some limited options, but they still want options. So if we can, we need to be creative with the ways in which we present options so that people have things. So they talk about back in store, back in stock notifications. That's a really good one, and I like that idea that in essence, maybe triggering an email out to folks who may have come across a product, they've abandoned the cart because the product wasn't in stock. Can you then remarket to them either through ads, or if you've captured email, getting them a message to let them know, hey, by the way, we're back in stock now. They're talking about SMS notifications here. That would be even more probably useful in terms of getting the notification there. Real-time recommendations of different products that are potentially in stock, and of course, there's all kinds of really great things you can do here. But this article just really gives a good perspective in terms of thinking through what you should do in that holiday shopping season perspective, and giving more thought to that. I also wanted to note here that Rite Aid was going through a rebranding. And so you might see Rite Aid Pharmacy seeing some new pieces here. And the thing that really shocks me about their process is how much money they are investing in their digital experience and using their store as kind of a showroom for the article that I'm reading here on payments.com is really all about what they're calling the stores of the future, where the pharmacist comes out into the community, right? They're more not, instead of being behind the counter, they're more in front of the counter, and they're acting kind of as an ambassador of sorts. And they actually talk about Rite Aid having beauty ambassadors, these folks who talk about their beauty products and help people make selections and that kind of thing. And I just think about that in the context of retail going forward, that the digital experience and the amount of money Rite Aid has spent here, they've built out a new application, they've built out a new web presence. They really want to make sure people can have a digital first experience, and my perspective on a mobile first experience, so that people are capable of buying online and having their needs met online first, and then entreeing them, leading them to the retail experience in person if necessary. And the reality factor is that in the retail experience, as well as in the digital experience, we can still do this kind of ambassadorship, this kind of almost like a spa where you're kind of led around to the various kiosks and spaces. We can do this in a digital experience as well. And it's really great to see Rite Aid taking the lead here in doing this, in challenging CVS and Walgreens. And if you have a small business retail environment, you really need to start thinking about how you're going to do that same thing. And quite honestly, that makes you resilient in the pandemic, and it makes you resilient to your competitors who will be doing this stuff going forward, and you really need to pay attention to that fact as well. So just wanted to bring that to your attention, especially as we lead into this holiday shopping season. uh, I'll close with this, which is that entrepreneur.com had a recent article that they put out. It's going back some time ago, but I thought it was pertinent in this context of the holiday shopping season, and it was all about how to sell luxury products on Facebook and Instagram. And what they talked about was great photography, right? You have to have really good photography that kind of pops and brings out the product in that way. They talked about using influencers as a part of that process. Again, going back to what Rite Aid's doing here with their beauty ambassadors. So you don't have to necessarily have specifically influencers, but certainly people that your customers get to know as being experts on those types of products in your retail environment. And that way they can go ahead and ask questions and therefore have a greater opportunity for a call to action that is purchase, whether that be online or offline, right? Because you can have little videos embedded throughout product pages that act as that kind of beauty ambassador and explains those things. You can now even have little embedded meeting rooms. There are technologies out there where you can have meeting rooms embedded on the website. So when someone shows up on that page, they can have a little video meeting with someone and get a consultation on whether or not a particular product is good for them and not good for them. And those people can be working from home. Your beauty ambassador or your product ambassador, more in other genres, can be waiting at home for someone to go ahead and land on a page and then get prompted. They come into the meeting room and now they can have a quick conversation about those things. You can do scheduling where you schedule meetings. You have lots of opportunity here, but obviously someone who is literally sitting and waiting for someone to land on that website and talk to them is a great opportunity to bring someone closer to the sale. The ideas on the entrepreneur.com article continued with taking customers behind the scenes, showing some behind the scenes stuff, which is always just fun and interesting. Displaying user generated content. And again, this is one of those cases where testimonials and reviews and other kinds of content that people are generating from selfies with the product and so on and so forth are all really useful pieces, especially when they are driven in a luxury market, when they're driven by FOMO or keeping up with the Joneses, right? So those kinds of content will really help people push toward purchase. And something that I thought they were really smart to talk about was household income targeting. One of the things that you can do in a lot of different platforms, Facebook and Google Ads specifically, is really look at zip codes and identify those zip codes against, the mean or average household income. And this is something that I don't think a lot of people do, but is really important to think about, which is if you're selling a particular type of product, the zip codes and the mean or the median household income is really important for you to pay attention to when it comes to what kinds of products you're displaying there. If you're going after a product that is a more affordable product toward low-income zip codes, low-income households, you want to choose the zip codes where those households are going to be, and not push them toward very high income zip codes because you're just spending advertising dollars unwisely. That also goes to play in terms of tagging particular locations in social media. So often I see people tagging different neighborhoods and different businesses in zip codes where their clients are not going to be purchasers. So go ahead and make sure that you're targeting those pieces there. Robin from Startup to Growth is noting, thanks for highlighting the holiday shopping article. There's some important points for small businesses that they can act on now. Love the beauty ambassadors for Rite Aid as well. Yes, thank you, Robin. And absolutely, I think it's really important and imperative for us all to think about how we're really utilizing this season for being able to drive traffic, both in store as necessary, as well as to our digital experiences. And so hopefully you got some really good ideas there. I wanted to just close out with a couple of quick notes. One is I've launched a digital community. It's called Web and Beyond Community, and you can find it by going to www.webandbeyond.community, and so you can go ahead and find that, and you can join. You'll have to be approved to be able to join in. You should be a small business owner, and it's just a place for us all to gather and discuss issues that are really important and imperative to not only surviving but thriving as small businesses. And so I'm really excited to have you all join us in that space. Any events that we have upcoming, I've now decided to just place them all onto Eventbrite. So if you go to W3C, C as in Charlie, so w3cinc.com/events. You'll be taken to our event page, and there on the page you'll see all of the various items, whether they're paid or free. All of the events will be there, and you can register on Eventbrite. And so with that, you'll see our upcoming roundtable in December. You will see our upcoming webinar. We have a webinar on Google Workspace, which is the newly branded G Suite for small business. I'm going to be doing a full walkthrough of the platform so that you can see the value of Google Workspace. I'm the Google Small Business Advisor for Productivity, so obviously I want people to know the value of Google Workspace and what it can do for you. And in line with that, I should also note that W3C Web Services now can provide Microsoft 365 licenses. So if there is anybody out there who is looking to start a business and they are not as Google friendly as I am, don't worry, W3C Web Services has your back. We can also provide licenses for Microsoft 365 and training. So just let us know. Go to web.w3cinc.com, and you can go ahead and find that under one of the drop-down menus. I think it's under email. And so, but feel free to contact me if you have any questions. So with that, we have reached the end of our time together for Web and Beyond Live. And if you have any questions, feel free to leave a comment. You can also tweet at us at W3 Consulting on Twitter. Join us here every Monday, typically at 11 a.m. Eastern. Right now it's 11 a.m. Eastern on Mondays, and we'll note otherwise on social if we come to you at another time. Thanks so much for spending this Web and Beyond live with me. I'm Ray Sidney Smith on behalf of W3 Consulting and our subsidiary W3C Web Services. Have a great week ahead, marketing your small business on the web and beyond. Take care, everybody.